Hey everyone, Eric Thompson here. Hope that you are doing well. Really reeled up for that one. Welcome back to the channel, okay? E.T.s film review as we consider number 70, finally through the 70s, on the AFI Top 100, Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, 1971's A Clockwork Orange. Now, this is a challenging film to watch. I had not seen it before I began this project. I watched it just recently, a couple days ago, sitting down to do the review now, and I knew when I saw it, I would need to take some time to really think about this movie and consider it at length, what I wanted to say about it. Because it is a challenge, okay? Very intense, very graphic, okay? Very violent. Not a lot of, but a bit of nudity and sexual content. Certainly not as much as Kubrick's later work, Eyes Wide Shut, or of course many other films which just simply contain more nudity and sexual content. But still, a considerable amount. Okay? And so this movie is not for the faint of heart, but it tells the story of Alex Lestrange and his sort of gang in a dystopian London. And although it's hard to maintain that when some of the shots were like looking out of windows in apartment buildings and you can see cars on the roadways and everything looks peaceful, like it's the middle of a business day, you know. So maybe it's not supported terribly well all the time, but in 1971 they did their best to make it seem like the future. The future that it never ended up becoming, of course, because what we have now is nothing like that. Although, curiously, they still have a lot of, you know, albums and LPs and stuff. I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I don't know exactly what they're trying to say. But this movie is on the list, of course, one, because of Stanley Kubrick himself. We've already seen one of his films with 1960's Spartacus. Here, again, his second film on the top 100, A Clockwork Orange. And yes, we're going to see a third. I'm sure you can imagine what it is. And it's not Eyes Wide Shut or Full Metal Jacket, so that pretty much only leaves, or The Shining. So it leaves, actually, I would better check. No, it's not. Okay, so if it's not any of those, I'm sure you can guess what it is. So we honor him, and the AFI honors him with having this film on the top 100. Also, there's such an incredible psychological element to this film, and the way it deals with morality, possibility of the future. Somewhat related, Tori and I just started watching Star Trek The Next Generation, which is my very favorite of all the Star Trek franchises or the different Star Trek series, and that sentiment belongs to many. And I was explaining to her something that I had learned from watching interviews with Gene Roddenberry, that Star Trek, but specifically The Next Generation, was supposed to be, he meant it to be his vision of the good that humanity could reach in the future. And that, of course, is displayed in the Federation of Planets and how humanity is peaceful with so many races, so many foreign races. But, of course, you gotta have bad guys too, and so you have Klingons and Borg and Dominion and all this different stuff, right? In later seasons and series. But that was Roddenberry's hope, was that Star Trek would be a beacon of hope, you know, for humanity. We could attain this level of peace and prosperity, okay? Now, what Kubrick is saying here is not so encouraging, all right? He's saying that this is where humanity could slip to. Of course, not much story is really given in the film, I don't know about the book, as to how the human race got to that place. Maybe it was only in Great Britain. Maybe it was only in England. I don't know. This, among other reasons why it is so important, though, because it is still a film of premonition, even if some of it seems so, I don't know, unlikely or impossible. But it's not impossible, and none of this is really impossible, even though it is awfully strange. Of course, this film remains relevant, not only, again, because of Stanley Kubrick. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. I want to say Norman, is that right? I think that's it. I'm so sorry. No, Malcolm, excuse me. Malcolm McDowell, who has enjoyed an amazing, incredible career in film. And this was not his first, but it was among his very first. And wow, just wow. And the impact that his performance alone has had on the cinematic world is a reason why this film remains relevant for today. Perhaps you've seen this picture. There are a couple different versions of it, but I think I like this one the best because it's the clearest. They guys put that up. Here you can see, of course, on the top, Malcolm's Alex Lestrange, okay, the protagonist and kind of antagonist, I guess, of A Clockwork Orange, and beneath, Heath Ledger's the Joker from The Dark Knight. And it's obvious, it was obvious to me watching the film that Heath Ledger had taken incredible inspiration from Alex Lestrange. And there were some moments when I was convinced that Heath Ledger just totally ripped it off. Of course, in a very different setting, but wow. Somehow, dystopian Arkham City, or Gotham City, excuse me, and Arkham, I guess, matched up beautifully with London, with dystopian London. But, of course, Heath Ledger so heralded for that performance, and so much of it based on what we see in A Clockwork Orange. Excuse me. But among other things, also Kubrick's bravery in writing, producing, and directing a film of this potency, which again gives some freedom to not only himself, but other filmmakers in the future. And I want to mention quickly, I looked at the list of his films, and the only major film that he made that I've not seen is The Shining, which I just haven't watched yet, but it's there online somewhere. I think I can pick it up on Amazon for free and watch it there. But after I watched A Clockwork Orange, I watched Eyes Wide Shut, which I had heard about and knew a little bit about, but I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that it wasn't what I had expected at all. Still very intense in its content, but I saw, at least I want to say that I was seeing his development as a director, and having seen A Clockwork Orange, there were moments when Eyes Wide Shut felt awfully Clockwork Orange-ish to me. And so, just with so few directors, we can see that passage of talent, that passage of idea, of bravery in filmmaking. Now, the spiritual reflection for this film is a challenging one, not only because the film is full of such both ambiguity and concrete ideas about morality. And by that I mean, on the one hand, the morality of the time of this dystopian future seems so ambiguous. But at the other time, there seems to be such a universal law in place that dictates what is and what isn't, even if that universal law is put into place by the government, which plays a stronger role as the movie progresses. But actually, what I was reflecting on doesn't have to do with the film itself, but with the book. This is what I do know about the book, is that there was a final chapter which Kubrick, maybe intentionally, maybe not, did not include in the film. And the final chapter is of Alex, but there's an incredible moment of redemption when he turns away from the ultra-violence that he had so enjoyed, even after the cure, right? He returns, he forms a gang, but he doesn't find it very satisfying. And so he returns to, or he desires a life of goodness for himself. You know, he desires to have a family and get away from the ultra-violence and all this stuff. This is not in the film, all right? I'm not going to spoil it for you. For what does happen at the end, you can watch it for yourself, or perhaps you already have. But I was thinking about that, and I wondered, what if I died right now, whatever, and someone wrote a book about me, and then someone made a movie about me, but they left out the last chapter. Would I want that last chapter in there? Would that last chapter say good things of me? And most importantly, would that last chapter help to give a complete picture of my life? Of course, in the instance of A Clockwork Orange, that last chapter in the text is essential, not only because it shows where Alex Lestrange ended up, but it brings the story full circle-ish. At least it brings the plot arc full circle. But in our lives, what if the last chapter, perhaps even the most important chapter, is left out? Maybe you have felt, I know I have, that the better part of you is forgotten. I've felt unappreciated lots of times, and I've felt, especially in my position and in my career that I've chosen, or perhaps that I accepted God's challenge to pursue, that people only choose to see the bad in me or in what I do, or people choose to see my faults before my successes and victories. You know what I mean. This, of course, possible of anyone, any profession, that people are quicker to criticize than to compliment, to tear down than to build up. And I don't think I would want to live that kind of life for myself. I don't think I would want to live a life in which the best part of me is forgotten. Again, remembering, and I really believe that moment of redemption in the book, in the Clockwork Orange, the novel, is the best, brightest, and most important part of the whole story. Okay? Far more than anything else that had come before it, even though so much had. But here it is, the film. In the film, it's omitted. We don't get to enjoy it there. Now, the film, still a masterpiece, but without that redemptive end, that most important end, and perhaps some of the highest drama of all left out. Now, that's Kubrick's choice, okay? And I think in an interview later on, he said that, like, genuinely, he just hadn't read it, by the time he had written most of the screenplay, and there was no way to fit it in, or whatever it was. But in life, we should hope that the best parts of our lives are remembered. In the Bible, quite often, in fact, there are champions of the faith, heroes of the faith, who are pleading with God to remember their goodness, especially because they know that they have done things which they hope God will not remember. I'm sure that you and I have those same things in mind. Sins we've committed, wrong that we've done, hurt that we've caused, that we hope God will not remember when the time of judgment comes. Psalm 25, King David says it so beautifully, and he lived it so powerfully. He says, "Do not remember the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your kindness, according to your loving kindness, remember me." Or, think of me in love. Remember me in love. For your goodness' sake, O Lord, or for the sake of divine goodness, God. Don't remember what I did back then. Remember the good that I have done in my life. And again, Nehemiah, the prophet, remember me, O my God, for good, according to all that I have done for this people, for Israel. People are asking God to remember the best parts of their life. Perhaps for you, for me sometimes as well, it seems difficult to imagine that God could somehow forget the wrong that we've done. Having caused so much hurt, intentionally, unintentionally, having done so much against Him and against His children, our friends and our family. But there is such a good news that Jesus, through His passion, through His suffering, through His death and resurrection, has made a way. It's a mysterious way, but has made a way for us to come to God. And because of Christ, we appear before God white as snow, even, the Bible says. White as snow. Not stained by sin, not covered in guilt or filth, the filth of wrongdoing, but we stand before God white as snow, innocent because of what Jesus did. This, of course, a result of our faithful believing in what Jesus has done and in the atoning sacrifice that he made to God on our behalf. This, of course, friends, is the heart of the gospel message. This is the heart of all Christianity. Jesus Christ, crucified, buried, and risen from the dead for our sake, so that, believing in him when our time comes, standing before God, God looks on us and remembers the best part of our life. Our best efforts to serve him and to be a force for good in the world. This is not easy to attain, and it was not easy for Jesus to attain. But we can come to this reality, this freedom in Christ, because he remembers our goodness. And he, through his incredible loving kindness, will forget. And by forget, I mean it will become as if it never existed, our wrongdoing. Now that's a heavy theological sentiment, but I think something heavy on the theology side fits with a film of this weight, such as A Clockwork Orange is. An incredible film, and please forgive me for being a little preachy. I just get so excited, and in my own heart I feel such encouragement. Not because I've done anything to deserve it, but because if I stay close to Jesus and continue to come to him with my burdens, with my sins, and follow him as best I can, by grace, through faith, and with godly action, with fruitful good action, on that last day, I hope that God will remember the very best part of my life, the part that pleases him the most. I hope the same for you, friends. I really, truly do. Thank you, as always, for watching. Like and subscribe to the channel if you care to. Say, if you didn't watch it, check this video out, okay? It's about this funny little diet I'm doing right now. I did an update a couple weeks ago, and I think I'll do another one at the 1 month mark. But here's the most recent update on the Mountain Man diet. And so you can take a look at that and kind of get a sense of how that's going for me. But of course, look around the channel. You might enjoy some of the videos that you'll find, and I truly hope that you do. And I do truly hope that everyone is doing well. Number 69, a total redirection, is coming up soon. Tootsie, starring Dustin Hoffman. I've not seen this. I don't know if I want to watch it. I'm going to have to, though. So here we go with Dustin. But it's Dustin Hoffman, so how bad can it be? It's on the list, but it's Tootsie. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let you know, friends. Thanks for watching so much. Take care. Bye. Oh my gosh, Tootsie.